Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Naz Porter. Today we got a little bit different project here. We have a LED light that somehow the cord got disconnected from the driver. So this is, because it's an LED light, you see the LED up in there. That means it should be a driver on this. There's a difference. I guess there's a little difference between transformers and drivers. They do pretty much similar things, but there's a little bit difference. One day we'll try to get to more details how they work. So naturally we see that this is cut, and I could plug it into the wall. Show you what I could do if you know what you're doing. Don't try this at home, but there's a plug right there. So if I was to plug something in that plug right there, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. First I'm gonna look to make sure the wires are not touching. Because if they're touching, it's gonna short out. So make sure they're not touching. Make sure these are not touching. Now there's two pairs, negative and positive. So if I plug this in, see if I can give an example of how this is going to work. If I could do it, they say anything is possible. You just got to try to make it happen. So, looking at the polarity, white to white, black to black. If I touch these right here, the light should come on. Let's see. Just got to get them lined up. Am I close enough? There we go. Light is on. So we know that it works. So now the next thing is, if you got to understand what you're doing too. I'm going to give you an example. So we know that this works. We just tested it. We verified it. Now it's the cheapest way to connect this without using connectors and wire cutters and all that kind of stuff and crimps. We're going to do an old-fashioned way with electrical tape. It's gonna work fine. Let me show you. This is one of many ways that you can do this. So I'm gonna cut this in the middle, right? I'm gonna separate this negative and positive. I carefully put my knife kind of like right there. Let it pierce right in the middle. Make sure I don't cut the insulation, but cut the middle of the two insulations. Just like that. So now I got these two wires separated. Peel it back. Just give it enough. That should be good enough. You can always do more if you have to. I got about 2.5 to 3 inches right there, which is okay. Do the same thing on this side. I'm just gonna get my knife and it's gonna cut right in the middle. Just gingerly. Make sure I cut in the middle and not the actual wire, because if you do, that means you gotta skin back more. So make sure you're right in the middle. Make sure you don't cut your hand too. A lot of people put their hand in and they cut their finger. So that's what you don't want to do. You wanna make sure you're not doing that. So now years ago I used to strip these with my teeth. They say not to do that, but I always did it that way. So now I'm learning not to do it with my teeth and use wire strippers. That's what these are meant for. So we're gonna skin off about, let's say 2 inches. Let's say about 2 inches right here. Gently pierce the sheeting. And I'm gonna just spin it a couple of times, and that should cut right in, and I should be able to pull it. I did it too fast and easy. I'm gonna try to do it again. So I'm just gonna twist this all to be one unit of wire. Just twist all this copper stranded wire to one unit of wire, just like that. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now I'm gonna strip this again. I'm gonna try to do a little bit slower. Get the same area of wire. I'm not cutting into it, just cutting into the shield. Pinch just enough into the shield, and I spin my pliers. It's enough to cut, and then Once I feel like I got enough cut into it, like a pull. Well, I didn't quite do it that way. Here we go. It's pulled off. And this takes a lot of practice too. You don't really get it right the first time. Sometimes you cut too deep into the wire. Sometimes you end up cutting the wire. So you're going to be stripping and damaging a lot of wire until you get it right. Now, so you want to get something like that, nice and braided together. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I got my wires. We try to, this is where the hands-on comes in handy. Because you could read books all day, all night. You could go online. The physical aspect is where this comes in place. So you put your pliers right between those teeth. Right? And we're going to pinch down gently. You got to gauge how much pressure you're putting on this wire. Because you put too much, you're going to cut into the copper. So just spin this around a little bit. Now, if I pull this off, I'm pulling just the sheeting, and then it comes off just like that. So it's just practice. I don't know. I learned a lot of this from different people. So Mr. Caples was a good signal and communication guy in Madison Park. He taught me a lot of this stuff. Mr. Oliveira was a good teacher as well. You had John Griffin. No, Dan Griffin. Sorry about that. You had Joe Flanagan. You had a few of them. Same thing here. Just gotta go nice and take your time. Spin it. Once you get it kind of pinched, just pull it off. I know I'm making it look too easy because it's not that easy, trust me. Some people have been doing it for a while, they know how to do it. And what we're gonna do here, we're gonna do a splice that no one really does a lot. And it's called the Western Union. So some of you guys know the Western Union, some of you guys don't. It's a guaranteed sure connection. Now before we do this, right? Most importantly, make sure you got the right polarity, because I put this on here and it's the wrong polarity. Guess what? It's not going to work. So remember, this is polarized. So the white, with the little white on it, so we assume that's like the neutral or the return or the negative. And we're going to go same thing over here with the white. So we want to make sure we're matching white with white, because we don't want to match white with black, because then we're going to have a short circuit. Double check your wires. Look at them real good. Side that got the white casing on it, keep that in your hand. Push the other one down to the side so it's not in your way. Same thing over here. The one with the white on it, make sure it has the white. Don't guess, make sure it's the correct one. Polarity is very important when it comes into DC current, because polarity makes a big difference. It won't work without the right polarity. So now we got the right polarity, and see how I did it? I put one way, one the other way. That way I don't mess up. So the one that's in my hand is the one I'm not using. The one that's sticking out of my hand is the one I'm using. Now, just to make sure, I want to check it again. Make sure I didn't mess it up. White. So now I know for sure I have the right ones. Now, if I mess these up, it's because I'm not paying attention, or I'm colorblind, or both. But check this out. We're going to go right here. We're going to cross this like an X about right there. Just making an X. Right the lower side, right about there, and nice little X. You see that? I'm gonna spin one way, just like this, and keep doing it till there's no more wire left. Just like that. And now we'll do the same thing on this side, but spin this the opposite way until there's no more wire left. I'm gonna keep spinning it and spinning it and spinning it and spinning it until it's all the way down to the end. Now, see that? Now the object of this now, you can do two things. If I put shrink wrap on this before, I could have put shrink wrap on it and shrinked it right together. I also couldn't put solder on this and flux it and solder it together, then wrap it with tape. But this is a strong connection. So when you pull it, it's pretty strong. So you have to really yank it hard to break this. This is a pretty strong bond. And what I'm gonna do is gonna wrap it with electrical tape. I don't know if I can, I'm gonna try to do it where you can see what I'm doing. Actually, if I do it this way, you can probably see better what I'm doing. So I'm gonna take this, take my electrical tape. I'm just gonna wrap it I'm gonna start from outside of my connection, which is about here. About that far out. I'm just gonna wrap it. Now one wrap, if you're doubling it up the right way, will be enough to insulate this. I'm going over it pretty gingerly. Get over to the end. And once I get to the end, I want to make sure I got at least the thickness of the insulation. Because if I don't have the thickness of the insulation, then it's not doing me any good at all. So I got that pretty much wrapped up. I'm gonna do one more wrap and I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm gonna cut this off, or just pull it. Pull it real hard. Comes off. Let's wrap that last final piece right in there, like that. So now I got one side. Actually, let me do this so you can see, because you probably can't see exactly what I'm doing. Let me go down like this. How about that? That might be better. So now, I got that already wrapped. So, how about that? That might be better to see. Because other than that, I'm stretching too far. So that side is wrapped. That's insulated from there to there. Now I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to put this in the form of an X. Just like that. Kind of lower X at the bottom right there. So I got about a ½ inch on each side. You see that? Twist this to the counterclockwise. That one's going to probably be going clockwise. And just keep twisting this until there's nothing left. Keeping the turns nice and close to each other. So as I'm turning, make sure it's close to each side. And just keep turning it until you have no wire left. All your wire is on the actual wire. Just like that. This is probably one of the first splices they teach you how to do. They call it the Western Union. They got all kinds of splices. They got T-splices. They got pigtail splices. I don't even know all the names of them. There's so many of them out there. But the Western Union is mostly used for joining two wires together in the same line. The T-splice no one really uses, but they might use a lot of that in small voltage wiring. It's not really done in any high voltage wiring. So that's how we end up with just a solid bond, just like that. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull me a length of tape off of this. It'll be about that long. That should be long enough. And it's gonna break it right here. Because it's gonna make it easier for me to feed it through this area. So I'm gonna start here a little bit before, starting before the copper. I'm gonna make sure that folds over. This pulls through. Kind of pull it nice and snug, and just keep repeating it over and over again. Same exact way. Nice and snug. Down to the next one. I'm gonna use this tape up. I'm overlapping it like 2 to 3 times by doing it this way, because that same tape is wrapping again. Then I'm wrapping it again until this tape is completely gone. And I'm having a pretty thick cover here. I mean, that's pretty thick. Now, that we're gonna call that completed as far as wrapping this section. Now the last and final section we're gonna do, I'm gonna, even though these wires are not 100% even, there is a way to get these even. You have to really measure it up the right way. But that's okay because it doesn't matter. I'm gonna kind of wrap these together so it's gonna be all as one. I'm gonna show you right now. Very thin at the top. Gonna come down. This is just to keep these together so they don't stick out. Like I said, you can always use shrink wrap. Shrink wrap is a good invention. Before, back in those times, people didn't really have shrink wrap. They had to use tape. They had to use other different methods. But if you got shrink wrap, by all means, that makes it so much easier. Let's see right now. That's got me a nice. That could be done a lot better, but I'm showing you the cheapest way of doing this for buying any other material other than what you call electrical tape. Now I always fold my electrical tape back so it's time to grab it the next time it's easy. So I fold it back like a ½ inch and I stuff it like that. So next time I come to grab it, it's right there. I don't have to kind of dig for it. The little things to help your job become a little easier when you're doing it. This here is just, this is what that is. Now, I'm gonna go to that plug. If everything worked out right, this thing should work. Let's see, let me kind of shimmy over here. Plug in this light here and see what we got. Here we go. So we got a light that is functional. See that? It is working. No trick photography. Switch works. On, off. I don't know if you guys can see. Well, I have to go there. Now, if you to see the light, you have to be looking at it right there. That's on. That's off. So that right there is how you can do a very cheap MacGyver. And you see the movies when someone cut telephone lines. If you understand how telephone wires work, you can splice telephone wires together. Now, most telephones that we don't really use too much now, they had black, red, green, and yellow. But they only use the red and the green. So if you ever had to splice a telephone wire together, you just splice the red and the green wire. And telephones work off of DC voltage as well. And I believe they use some AC voltage to make the bell ring or something like that. I'm not too sure how that works, but that's basically how it does work. But that's done. So if you ever have a broken wire and you want to do it the cheapest way possible, this will work. Now high voltage, I've done it with high voltage like 120, but I just wrap more layers of tape on it when I've done it because you want to make sure it's separating the two. The combined wrapping of this tape on either side will kind of give it double insulation, but you want to make sure you got enough wraps of tape that almost equal the thickness of the insulation. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.